Today, I will um, also discuss about the difference between food as a medicine as well as taking medicine from food. Okay, so as you mentioned, I'm an accidental entrepreneur. I was writing a book and then started looking at the jackfruit. But let's look at what happened in the last 10 years. 2015 is the first time I made this information public that the unripe jackfruit or the green jackfruit as a meal, which is the Kerala tradition of making chakapurukka in Kerala, is good for diabetes. 2015 is the first time we made this information public. Now, a lot of people criticize me for making that information public. Okay, usually in the scientific world, you keep everything secret till the research is complete and then you publish it. That is when you make it public. But I went against that. In as soon as I found out there is a scientific reason why replacing rice with the Kerala tradition of the jackfruit meal or chakapurukka is good for diabetes, I felt that I have a moral obligation to inform the public that this traditional food is good for diabetes ASAP. Okay, because people were cutting off jackfruit trees at the time. Okay, if I don't let people know that they wouldn't try, okay, and by the time I complete the research, it may be too late. And that is the difference between a food and a medicine. A food you can consume from day one while the research is going on. Okay, let me share what I went through. Okay, 2014 Easter is when I found out that okay, there is one case of when a priest who was taking insulin, one night he replaced his rice with the Kerala traditional jackfruit meal, took his normal dose of insulin, and he had a severe hypoglycemia, which means the sugar level went too low. And he came and told me this in 2014 Easter. But I then kept on researching what actually happened. Is it a one-off case or is something which is more bigger? And then we found out that okay, 1 cup of rice versus 1 cup of jackfruit meal, it is 40% lower in carbohydrate, 40% low in calorie, and 4 times more fiber. This is exactly what a diabetes patient is supposed to do: reduce carbohydrate, reduce calorie, increase fiber. Then we found a paper published in Ceylon Medical Journal in 2012. The glycemic load of the jackfruit meal is 40% lower than rice or bread. So, which means, as per the medical nutrition therapy guidelines of American Diabetes Association, replacing rice with the green jackfruit meal is actually medical nutrition therapy, which you're supposed to do before you start medication. I then approached a diabetologist in Kochi, Dr. Joni Kannapalli. I told him, look, this is as per the American Diabetes Association's guidelines. This is a medical nutrition therapy. He went through the data. He said, James, this is against whatever I have learned and whatever I've been practicing for the last 18 years. But the way you have articulated the data which you have shown makes sense to me. My father is diabetic and he's taking insulin. He's staying with me. Let me give it to him and try. For the next 3 nights, he replaced his dad's roti with the jackfruit meal and reduced his insulin by 20 units. Still, the sugar level was under control. For 3 consecutive nights, he saw that when he is replacing roti or rice with the jackfruit meal, he is able to reduce the insulin by 20 units and still the sugar was under control. And that is when we made that information public. So I have heard it from one anecdotal evidence. I did my research to find out there is a scientific reason behind it. I went and validated that with a diabetologist who tried it on his own father and then found out the same result. And that is when we made it public, 2015. 5 years later, to make it available for rest of India, I made a flour out of the green jackfruit. And because I made a flour out of this, I could do a double-blind placebo-controlled randomized control trial. And this was done at a medical college in Andhra Pradesh, Srikakulam, where the patients were asked to add jackfruit flour for breakfast in their idli and dosa, and jackfruit flour in the roti for dinner. Okay, and the placebo group was given rice flour for breakfast and wheat flour for dinner. So the placebo group was replacing rice in idli and dosa with rice flour. In the night, in roti, they were replacing wheat flour with wheat flour itself. So it's a placebo effect was removed. So when we did the double-blind placebo-controlled randomized control trial for 90 days, what we could clearly see was in 90 days, they had in their idli and, and roti, they had replaced wheat with jackfruit flour or rice with jackfruit flour. But after 90 days, the group which had jackfruit flour had a significant decrease in average blood sugar level known as HbA1c. The group which had rice flour and wheat flour had an increase in HbA1c. This is a clear contrast between the jackfruit flour group had a decrease in HbA1c, the rice flour or wheat flour group had an increase in HbA1c. We presented this at the American Diabetes Association's conference in 2020. And in 1 year, we did a peer review and presented that at the Nature Group journal, Nutrition and Diabetes. That is when it became scientific evidence. Once it is peer reviewed and published in a globally reputed medical journal like Nature Group's Nutrition and Diabetes, many doctors and nutritionists started recommending jackfruit flour to their patients. And one of them was Dr. Vinod Abhichandani from Ahmedabad. And he has been practicing diabetes, and he's a diabetes and endocrine physician and prescribing diabetes medication for the last 35 years to his patients. When he read this study, he found out this is actually fundamental medical nutrition therapy. So he started giving it to his patients as well as his wife. And in 3 months, he called me. He said, James, this is not just for diabetes. I've seen my wife's HbA1c coming down from 7.9 to 7.6, the cholesterol coming down, triglycerides coming down, uric acid levels became normal, and her overall weight has reduced by 3 kilograms in just 3 months. But there is something more. He said, James, my wife's grade 2 fat liver has come down to grade 1 in just 3 months. This is fundamental metabolic correction. If there is one medicine which could do all of this, I would have given it to my wife long time ago. This is a nutritional gem, what you have discovered. A 3,000-year-old nutritional gem, this jackfruit atta, is a nutritional gem which you have brought back to India. This is much bigger than just diabetes. Okay, I am going to recommend all my patients, all my staff, everyone to start using the jackfruit flour in their atta every day, because this is fundamental correction to all metabolic disease. So he kept on giving me feedback about patients' cases. So whenever I have a joint presentation, he will make a case study about each cases. And then it continued, and there is, James, I now have more than 200 patients who have reversed many metabolic conditions. And consistent reversal of fatty liver was coming out cases after cases. And I had met Professor Roy Taylor of Newcastle University in 2017 at the Endocrine Society conference in Kovalam in Trivandrum. And during that time, I had explained to Professor Roy Taylor what I have uncovered with the Kerala tradition of eating the unripe jackfruit as a meal, as an alternate to rice or wheat, and then we are seeing the blood sugar levels coming under control. He looked at the calorie difference between rice, roti versus the unripe jackfruit. He said, James, it is not as low as the very low calorie diet, but it is still a low calorie diet. It may take longer, but what you're giving is a food, not a diet. A food is what you enjoy with the rest of the family. A diet is what you suffer alone. So the jackfruit meal tradition of Kerala is actually a lot more practical than putting people on a diet, because this is something which people like to have. And by making it a flour, anybody can have it.